Human interaction has shown to be increasingly important to the developing brain of an infant. Whether it is through true cruelty or simple ignorance, the neglect of children has shown to have severe and lasting impacts on the well-being of children, as seen by certain cases in the book The Boys Raised the Dog. The first impact is a lack of physical growth, as shown by Laura. Virginia, Laura's mother, was raised in foster care, and therefore she never received the bond between a caregiver and a child that is so important to that child becoming a good mother and learning how to take care of the emotional and physical needs of her child. Laura received much love in the way of getting all of her needs like food and water, but she did not receive the stimuli from emotional and physical love that she needed to grow, and therefore she developed hormonal dysregulation, which basically caused her body to stop growing around the age of 4 until she received proper care. Even though she was getting nourishment, she stopped growing, and her cortisol levels became very erratic, which has been shown to have a correlation between these stress levels and between the growth of children. The second effect that I'm going to discuss is empathy and how neglect can cause that empathy to be destroyed, as seen by Leon. Leon was raised by a mother who did love her child but was not really capable and would leave her child alone in the dark for many hours. Therefore, when Leon cried, no one would respond, and Leon learned to rely only on himself because his needs were not being met by others. This caused his empathy to be destroyed and never came back up in his adolescence or in his teen years or into adulthood, when at 18 he brutally killed, raped, and attacked the bodies of 2 teenage girls. And even then, he never understood empathy, as he even commented on his lack of understanding on why those parents were crying because he was the one that was being put in jail. He never received a regular care. Sometimes his dad would be home, he'd receive it, sometimes he wouldn't, and therefore they did not receive this pattern that is needed in order for a child to develop properly. And overall, it caused a very violent child, as seen in many cases. And the last effect I'll be discussing is the lack of social skills that can happen from neglect, as seen by first Justin, who was raised with a dog. His caregiver was very old and was a dog breeder, so that's what he knew, and that's what he used when parenting. He left Justin in a cage and would let him out to play like his dogs, but he would never talk to Justin, and therefore Justin's brain didn't learn how to communicate properly. He didn't lead Justin in learning to walk, so Justin did not walk, and he never taught him how to eat properly with a fork and spoon, and therefore that etiquette was never developed, and he was seen as being slow or mentally handicapped. And in reality, he just needed to be taught these skills in order to develop. And eventually he did learn them as his problem was identified and he received therapy. But for some people like Connor, this isn't identified until later in life. Connor had a babysitter who would leave him alone during the day, and therefore his case was kind of like Leon, but instead of becoming violent, he became very awkward as a teenager. He'd be seen rocking or humming when he was stressed out, which was very often. He lacked coordination because his body never learned rhythm. Rhythm is very important because it regulates heart rate and it regulates stress. Like when a mother picks up their baby and their heartbeats sync, and this causes the stress levels to drop. Because he didn't learn that pleasure from human interaction, he became very awkward, and it took him a very long time to recover from this. Although he eventually did, it took many, many years and a lot of training. He didn't understand eye contact or handshakes or any of these social skills that are necessary in life and normally develop naturally. And so in conclusion, what happens when a child is neglected is similar, if not worse, than child abuse. And many parents do not understand this because they figure that if they're providing food and shelter and water, then their baby is fine and happy. But really it takes physical care and physical love as well. And so hopefully as new medical research comes into light, parents will start to realize this and will be able to meet all the needs of their children in order for their brains to develop properly.